Machine.
Hi there, it's Claire Lim here, and this is Hot Pod Time Machine. This is the podcast where we explore a decision from our past that changed the trajectory of our future. And in this episode, I've got a wonderful guest, one of my favourite humans ever. It's the wonderful Roger Clark. Yay!
Hello, how's it going?
It's going well. I love when we start these podcast records and the guest will go, "How's it going?" And we've already spoken for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, we're just pretending. Oh, so nice to see you, Claire. I haven't seen you since forever. Yeah, we've gotten all the juicy stuff out of the way now. Let's talk for the fans. Oh,
yes, exactly. No, yes. Now we've got to be professionals, Roger.
Yeah.
Professionals.
Yeah. We won't stop. I'll stop backstabbing everyone now. Yeah.
Stop our bitching and our gossiping. Roger, when I sent you the format of the podcast and you know what it's about, what were the first things that came to your mind? Because there's a lot of decisions that we make in our life that change things.
Absolutely, yeah. I think for me, it was a decision that I didn't really have much to say in. It was when I was 12 years old is when my family upped and took me back to Ireland.
Right.
My mother was Irish. My father was American Irish. We had spent most of my summers in Ireland, but when I was 12 years old, we went over there for good, and it was a huge change. Yeah. I didn't really appreciate it at the time, but that was it.
Yeah, because you, being 12, you weren't a little babby, you know, you were like a grown kid. So when you were at school, what was it like? Were kids making fun of you? Did you feel real different?
Oh, I stuck out like a sore thumb. Sometimes the attention was great, and sometimes it wasn't, you know. But it got old fairly quick, so I kind of laid on the Irish accent a lot thicker than it probably would have come naturally, you know. By the time I was 13 or 14, I just wanted to fit in with the rest of my classmates and whatnot. We moved to the west of Ireland in a place called Sligo, where my mother grew up. So I was like, oh, did you hear there's a Yank over here now? There's some Yank in the classroom. And I'd be like, no way. Oh, I wonder who that is. You know?
Because like your accent now sounds to me Irish, you know, even though you live in America now and you grew up to the age of 12 in America. Like, in terms of accents, I mean, how do you feel like from day to day? Does it just change from day to day?
Sometimes, I mean, I don't belong anywhere, to be honest. In Ireland, this would be very much kind of leaning towards the American, you know, and in America, it's the other way around. Some people can't quite put their finger on it. It's a hybrid accent by far. It's definitely it's just an amalgamation of everything. Sometimes, if I've had a few Guinness, I lean more towards the Irish. Other times, it's more American. It's helped me with work, but it's given me an identity complex no end, I'll tell you that.
Oh, let's talk about your identity complex. Therapy time.
No, yeah, here we go.
Here we go.
To be honest, I know what I am. But a lot of people think they know what I am too, and they're almost always wrong. They're the people that don't know me. They're the people. There's a lot of gatekeepers, you know, who seem to be upset when you tell them what your nationality is or what it isn't, and they seem to have a better idea of what it is, or should be at least. And you know, when those people make themselves known to you, you should always be grateful, because you could just walk in the opposite direction, you know.
How do you feel then? Like, where if somebody says, "Where are you from?" What do you reply with?
Well, you know, I go, well, how long have you got? Where are you from? I get asked that all the time because of my accent usually. And I tell them, I said, well, I was born in the States, I grew up in Ireland, and I trained in the UK. And that's the answer. But you know, what as to people say, well, which country do you feel more akin to? I mean, that's the real crux of it, you know. And I feel very much American. I've lived most of my life in the States, but almost half of it was in Ireland and the UK as well. And I definitely am Irish. There's a part of me that will always be Irish, you know. And got my passport, and I lived there, and I paid taxes there, and all that sorts. And there's, you know, not saying there's a chance I might go back one of these days too. But yeah, I'm definitely Irish American.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of Americans who say that, and they're not.
Yes.
And I get it. I get it. I've seen those people in Ireland when I was a teenager, and I gave them wrong directions because they would always mispronounce all the names of the Irish towns and whatnot, and I used to laugh at them.
Love it.
And now everyone thinks I'm one of them.
Same with, when I go to America, people go, "Oh, I'm like quarter Scotch." And you're like, really?
Yeah. I'm Scotch.
I'm Scotch. You're half a whiskey there. You're okay. That's fine. I have a similar problem, not because of my accent. I think it's very clear where I'm from. Although Americans sometimes mistake me for Irish because they can't quite tell the difference between us.
I get Scottish a lot too. I get Australian a lot. Yeah.
I've had Italian once.
Really? That's interesting.
And you know, the first time I was in LA, I was in an Uber with my ex, and the Uber driver said, "So, where are you guys from? You got an interesting accent." And we were like, "Oh, we're from Scotland, Glasgow, Scotland, but we live in London." And he went, "Oh, wow. So, where'd you learn to speak English so good?"
I know. I
was like, we speak English.
At least they called it English. Sometimes it's American.
Oh my God. I mean, he was lovely, but it was a real eye-opener. But to go back to what I was saying, I get the same thing, except it's because I don't look Scottish. And that's why I get asked a lot, like, "Where are you from?" And I'll say Scotland. Yeah. "Where are you really from?"
That answer doesn't suit them, does it? No, I want the real,
What's the real answer? Glasgow. What's the real answer? Do you want the actual? And I get very belligerent about it. I just get very like, I am.
Because you know what they're asking. They don't have the guts to ask it.
Why do you think, like, whether it's accent or whether it's the way you look, why do you think people are so obsessed about putting people in, filing them into boxes?
Yeah, it's like they gotta label them somehow. I need to compartmentalize you in my head.
Yes.
And what you're giving me now, I don't have a compartment for. I need something more. I need to know why. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
It's so strange because I don't really care.
Yeah, and I think it's the high time we go look past all the ethnicity bullshit. You know, gosh, this world is getting smaller and smaller now.
100%. And you know, if aliens, I always say this, if aliens came down tomorrow and decided to blast us all, they wouldn't be saying, "Well, the Irish accent people won't get killed, but
they're all right."
Yeah.
No, they're all right. They say "ye" instead of "you." Let's keep them.
I'm gonna hope that the aliens like Irish and Scottish people.
Sure,
that's fine. Like, just you know, keep us.
We are some of the more friendly ones, I think.
We are. We've got a very interesting history. We could teach them quite a lot, but that's the thing. Like, we're all just humans, you know. And I've never got that. It's boring. It's a boring topic of conversation to start on when you meet people and you think, "Oh God."
It's because you know it's something. It's also something that it's a conversation that they've had every day of their lives, more than likely. And you know, sometimes people get excited and you know, nice to meet you. Why don't I ask you a question that you don't typically get asked when you meet someone, you know? Exactly. But for me, it's always, where am I from? What's that accent I hear? You know, where are you from? And sometimes the answer doesn't satisfy them. And usually it's when I meet Irish people in America.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, if I meet an Irish person whom I don't know, if they're not a friend or a family member or what have you, if there's just a random Irish person I meet in the street, it's getting to the point now where I don't want to tell them that I grew up in Sligo.
Interesting.
Because sometimes they get insulting. Sometimes they go, "Oh, so you're a plastic paddy then?" I'm like, do you want to be friends, or do you want a fat lip? You know.
I don't know what it is, but I'm not sure if it's like a Celtic thing. But every time I've gone back up to Scotland, it doesn't happen so much anymore. But it was in my formative years, and I'd go back up and they go, you're English basically, but you're basically English now because you live down there." And it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like this red badge of courage that they try and gatekeep. And you know, I understand it. I do understand where it's coming from, because like I was saying earlier, I've seen these American tourists, you know, coming over, and I mean, they are pretty funny sometimes.
They are. I love the way they pronounce stuff.
Oh my gosh. You've got Coca-Cola in Ireland?
Oh my God.
I could. Oh, that's a whole podcast there. American tourists abroad. I should shut up now. We're
Oh my
so.
God. I love that. I like the idea though. I like that. And you know what? Okay, you mentioned something earlier about okay, instead of asking you an interesting question, people ask you that. Okay, if we were just to have met, what would be a weird question you would ask me? Imagine we don't know each other. Cut through all the crap, and I'll think of a weird question that I would ask you. So, what would be
Okay.
your weird question?
Oh gosh, something that unusual, something that would be kind of refreshing. I guess I would ask something like, what was the favorite place you've been on holiday? Where would you like to live?
Ah,
Uh, where did you go to uni and why? And was it how far away from home was it for you? Stuff like that. Ask people things about things that are in their control, things that they've actually gone to the trouble of doing for themselves. Not something that they just happen to be born with, or whatever their circumstances are. Ask them something that they have control over.
my brain went somewhere different, Roger, because I was thinking, what would be a really weird point to start a conversation that would cause debate? So I'm going to ask you this: pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
Ah, I don't like it, but I don't hate it either.
Oh, you know what? In my
I
eyes,
think it's weird. I think it's a little weird. Fruit on pizza is a little weird, but I don't mind it. I don't. I mean, it's like that's one thing too. Like people always they have to be in one separate group. And I'm like, no, the toilet paper goes on that way,
yeah.
and I'm like, does it really? Does it really matter?
I've
Does it
never
really
noticed.
matter?
I just put
I
it
don't
on.
care. Yeah. I mean, I don't. Does it? Some people are so militant about it.
Oh God, but I think that must be an OCD thing, clearly.
Mm.
And with the
But
pineapple and pizza thing, I mean, I don't know. You sound like a pineapple apologist to
most
me.
Americans find it really weird. But I wouldn't order it. But if someone gave me it, I would eat it.
Okay, so then what is your pizza topping of choice? If you have to go for anything and you can eat that forever and ever, but you can't eat anything else, pizza of choice.
Oh, probably pepperoni. Or
Nice.
maybe, but I would love to do pepperoni and onions and maybe peppers, or mushroom and ham, or mushroom and sausage.
All the meat then, basically.
Yeah,
Roger's meat
Americans.
special.
The Americans do pizza, man. They know how to do pizza, and different parts of the country do different ways. But yeah, Americans are pretty. I'd say the Americans are even better than the Italians at it.
Do you know what? I've never had a good pizza in America.
Really?
No, no.
Wow.
I've only
New York,
I'm,
Connecticut,
okay,
Chicago, Detroit.
okay.
Detroit do their own special little pizza. But whatever you do, don't get pizza in Altoona, Pennsylvania. They've got their own little pizza. They think it's amazing. But
What is it?
the cheese is American cheese.
Oh, okay.
They literally, the processed
Yeah,
slices
yeah.
that comes in their own plastic wrappings. That's the cheese they put on it.
No, that's what you eat at 3 a.m. after the pub, and there's nothing
Yeah.
else in the fridge.
Or you can put it on a hamburger patty because that melts well then.
That's fine.
American cheese is good on a hamburger, but you don't put
Absolutely.
it on pizza.
No, but I'm a bit of a scumbag with stuff like that. I will eat it at the fridge. Just
I've done that.
Yeah, I'm drunk or just hungry and there's nothing in the fridge, just munch it. But you see, that's the thing. If you ask a weird question, you'll get
An interesting answer that'll lead on to something else.
Exactly.
As opposed to, yeah, because if someone has to, just imagine having to answer the same question every day. I mean, most of us do that. And,
I mean, you get interviewed a lot, Roger. So I mean, you must get asked. And I'm very aware that as a presenter and a writer, of course there are stock standard questions I will have to ask to appease a producer or director or an editor.
Sure.
But what I really want to ask is pineapple on pizza. Yeah or nay?
Ham and pineapple, I will eat. I have eaten in the past, but I don't know. Warm, even just a warm pineapple. I like having pineapple warm. It doesn't even have to be on a pizza. I think it's a little weird, but I don't have a violent reaction to it.
No.
I'm not. Yeah.
No, I love food, so I will eat anything. But generally, I'm like, ugh. But you know what?
Connecticut over here do a really nice one, and I had never had it before, and it's actually not that bad. You get clams with a white sauce and bacon all over a
Oh.
pizza, and it's awesome.
So, guys,
And
this is Hot Pod Pizza Machine, the new podcast.
And there's another one. They do mashed potato pizza, and it's not that bad.
Yeah. That, you know what?
It's nice and mashed, but then they toast it, kind of toasted in the pizza oven, so it's lightly crispy on the outside. It's carb central, though.
Can we just start a podcast where we just talk about the food we like? I mean, I'm quite happy to just talk about food. I love food so much. But
Asian food's my favorite food. And if I had to be vegetarian, I would want to live in India, or at least have access to Indian food.
Same.
Because they do veggie food the best.
Before I'm going to go back to potatoes, because tenuous link is something that I loved when I was younger. And then I want to go back to your original question, because you've got to keep it on track. I'm a professional, you guys. I'm a professional. So, top 3 cuisines. I'll start. Asian, but more like Oriental Asian.
Yeah, it's a big category, Asian. Yeah,
I'd say more on the Oriental side, and then I'll go Spanish. I love Spanish food.
You can't go wrong with Italian either, though. Italian's pretty amazing.
I mean, probably my third would be Italian. What about you?
Asian and Italian, and then the third one, I don't know if we were to split Asian into subcategories, because I love it all, but sushi's very different from a curry, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so I guess maybe Chinese food, like Szechuan's first, and then maybe Italian as second, and then third maybe Asian, like Indian Asian curries and all that sort of stuff.
I'm so hungry.
and if I could steal Thailand and put that in the curry department too, because their curries are awesome as well.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna change my top 3. I'm gonna go Chinese, Japanese, Spanish, and Italian could be like 4th.
Right.
Fair enough. But yeah, you're right. Like Oriental, even Oriental Asian. Oh God, I'm so hungry. I am starving. And
rice is a good carb too.
Rice
it's not
is a
so
great
bad
carb.
As the potatoes. Yeah.
Oh, don't. Like I grew up in potatoes, like the proper Scottish person I am.
Same here. Yeah. I never liked them boiled though. The Irish do boil them quite a bit. Sometimes I do like the skin on, but I boiled was never my thing. I prefer roast with, a bit of salt and pepper and maybe,
When you were growing up in Ireland, did your parents ever give you, I'm wondering if Scotland and Ireland in this respect are the same. So my mum used to mash up potatoes and then mash up like corned beef into it, and just like this sort of really cheap Asda corned beef, where it was like a pound for a million slices. Like, I wouldn't
be given that, but I would end up doing it on my plate many's a time. Because like if you're gonna boil them, I go, I might as well mash them myself because I don't like them boiled. But if I just mashed them with my own fork, that made it better somehow. And then you put some corned beef in or what have you.
Love the corned beef and beans, just like some Heinz beans at the side. There's nothing like a beige meal. I love beige food, actually. Like beige.
I never thought of that. Yeah, beige food. I never. Yeah, beans was usually a breakfast food in our house, but if the few times we had it, it was usually for breakfast. Yeah. But I would put loads of brown sauce in it.
I'm not a big brown sauce fan. It's too vinegary.
It's unheard of over in the States, but I love brown sauce. Yeah.
Yeah, I tell my American friends about brown sauce, and they go, "What now? What's brown sauce?" Like they don't get it.
If you had to, I guess you could kind of say it's like A1 steak sauce, but it's not. But if you had to compare it to anything American, A1 would be the closest thing, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. Perhaps I've had A1 before, and ranch sauce. One of my American friends, the
Americans go mad for ranch.
I love it. And so I gave my American friend salad cream, and I was like, "Nah, that's the shit. You got to eat the salad cream, and it goes with anything." And he was like, "No, ranch sauce is way better." And I was like,
I think I prefer ranch to salad cream. Yeah,
heathen.
Yeah, because you can't have salad cream with a savory food. You can have ranch with something savory. You can put a potato chip in there, but with salad cream, I wouldn't do that.
Oh, I do that all over. Let's go.
I used to do salad cream and fish finger sandwiches. Now that's pretty good.
Oh God, God, this is the hungriest I've ever been recording a podcast, I have to say. So let's go back to Ireland. We talked about potatoes, so that's the link. Very tenuous, I know.
Sure,
But
sure.
let's talk about Ireland and growing up in Ireland. When you moved there, it wasn't your choice. So this is the first podcast where this wasn't your decision, really.
No.
This was the decision of your parents.
Yes, my dad was retired. He was old when he had me.
Right.
So he decided to retire there. And we retired to my mom's old hometown where she grew up. And she emigrated to America as a nurse in the 60s. And then she met my dad in the 70s. And then my dad decided to retire back to where we had always visited in the summer. And it wasn't my say. I mean, I didn't say, no, I don't want to go or anything like that. But I guess I just kind of went along with the flow at that age. And I didn't really appreciate how much of a big culture change it was going to be for, but a big culture change it was. But it really did broaden my horizons as well. It's a totally different culture, totally different way of education, totally different way of hanging out with your friends, so it definitely gave me a new perspective on life, one that I'm very grateful for.
What was that like in hindsight when you look back? What was that perspective that you gained now that you're this age looking back? Obviously, you don't see it when you're younger,
Well, I was in a very rural part of Ireland where crime wasn't really that much of an issue. And even if, as teenage boys, even if we did get into trouble, there was hardly any chance of knives or guns like there is today,
Yeah.
So it was a much safer place to grow up, I think. It was much safer to be yourself and I often think to myself, well, what would have happened if I had stayed in America? I would go into an American high school and checking out the mall every weekend. I often think, wow, how different would I be as a person now? Because that obviously had a huge, huge effect on me. But, my teenage years in Ireland are part of me and they molded me. That's where I really started to get involved with drama too, which is the amateur dramatics in the west coast of Ireland. I remember working with the Claire Dramatic Society, and we would put on a panto every year. And this is how pantomime. You say that to an American, they think of Marcel Marceau. They don't even know what you're on about.
Yeah.
So it is a totally different upbringing than I would have had. Yes.
Do you think, even though clearly you're drawn to drama and drawn to being a creative person, but do you think you would have been drawn to that or encouraged to do that if you'd gone to an American high school, or do you think you would have always found this path?
I think the resources would have been available to me, but I'm not sure that I would have been as attracted to them had different circumstances happened. If I had fell in with a different crowd of friends. In Ireland, there was one of my friends just down the few doors down. He was hugely involved, and that was one of the reasons I got involved, is because we were all interested in the same things. And had we stayed in Ireland, I don't know necessarily if that would have been the case. It might have. I was a huge comic book nerd before I moved to Ireland. And then it was really hard for me to get Marvel comics in the west coast of Ireland. So I would pay an arm and a leg to get them mailed over and get these international subscriptions. But I eventually gave up on it, because, well, I had pantomime to do instead. But, two totally different environments. I imagine, what if I had a twin? It would have been a very interesting social experiment. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe I could have become a jock. Because, the resources at some of these American high schools are insane. They've got 2-3 different football fields. They've got 1 or 2 baseball pitches. Some of them have their own salons where people can learn hairstyling and everything. They've got gyms in them. I mean, some of them are so extremely well funded. They're like colleges. They're like university campuses, or like some high schools in the States are like a polytechnic in the UK.
Wow.
As far as resources and gyms and all that, and the library, it's the same. Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Let's say, okay, so like friendship group aside, I know that is a big influence in things, but imagine you'd gone to one of those big high schools in America, and And you know, there's sports and all these other things that are available. Would you have tried that out? Perhaps, are you sporty? Do you like that kind of thing as well?
I was never sporty because when I was, especially that age, I was 6 foot by the time I was 13.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I hardly grew from the
Gangly.
age of 13 onwards. Yeah. But I was 6 foot at 13 and I was incredibly awkward and clumsy because of it. I was just too tall.
Yeah.
And I didn't really become coordinated until maybe 16, 17. So most of my high school career, you know, I was averse to sports because I sucked at it and I just hated letting my team down. And it would always be the same thing. They're like, "Oh, look at that big, huge guy. Let's get that big kid over there, that 18-year-old kid. No, he's 12. What? Okay, let's get him. He's huge. He'll be awesome." And then I'm just like, can you imagine what a Great Dane is at 3 or 4 months old?
Yeah.
That was me. And they're like, "Oh, who picked that guy?" Like, I mean, well, I didn't do anything.
I did not have that problem. I was short and
I had to learn
round.
Gaelic football. I had to learn Gaelic football too, and I didn't learn how to properly play it until about 12, 13, at which point, you know, everyone else has been doing it since they're 4.
Oh my.
So I had to do a lot of catching up, and I just wasn't as good. It took me a long time to catch up with the Gaelic and playing Gaelic football, yeah.
Well, at least we didn't. In my school, we played hockey. I went to a girls' school.
Land, ground, not ice hockey, right?
No, like
All right.
proper field hockey.
Yeah. That can be quite brutal. I've seen some of the ways you guys go at each other.
I mean, because I was short and round, I was not tall and gangly.
So you just took out everyone's ankles, right?
Oh no, I was at the side with my iron brew and a chocolate bar.
Oh, fair enough.
I was like, I'm not doing this. Like, I'm not doing it. I was like an art kid and a music kid. So when they wanted me to do sport, I don't know, like I don't like team sports because I know I'm rubbish and I don't want to let everyone down, you know. So I feel the tremendous pressure of everyone on me and I feel like a failure. Which is why I'm doing what I'm doing now. I don't rely on anyone.
That was me too. And when I did get involved into sports, I started doing boxing because at least then you only let yourself down if you screw up, you know.
Exactly. I do boxing now. Do you still do that?
A little bit. It's great. It's good for cardio, you know.
Yeah.
If I get one of those clocks, you know, like 3 minutes on, 1 minute off, just like a round. That's pretty cool.
I love boxing. But you're right.
Yeah.
It's like just relying on yourself and no one else. It doesn't mean like, you know, when I'm working on a set or at an event or whatever on a job, I like that teamwork. That's teamwork I can totally get on board with, where everyone's helping each other and we're all getting on to do the job. I especially love working on a set. I love that, and I love getting to know everyone, you know, for those 3-4 days, weeks, or whatever. But sports, no. I know I'm never going to be the fastest, strongest, whatever.
That's okay.
It's fine.
That's okay.
I would
And in
fail.
Ireland, there wasn't really many extracurricular activities in the school. You know, it was mostly academic oriented, which I appreciated that too, because I think maybe I ended up with a better education than I probably would have had if I stayed in America. I don't know. They're very academically based, and then all the sports and stuff that could be done outside of school. But there was also a much better sense of community, I think, too, in Ireland.
Yeah, it's also I think growing up in 2 different places and understanding 2 different mentalities and cultures is a very handy thing for what you do now. You know, working with people.
Absolutely.
You know, and I am a great believer in traveling, even if you haven't lived in other places, travel and understand other cultures. And I think, I don't know if you would agree with me.
Absolutely. And the one thing that it taught me too is if you travel enough, it's not that you learn different things, but some of the most valuable lessons are how much you realize everyone's the same.
Yes, that's very true. And it's just maybe your accents or the words that you say that are slightly different.
We all want, most of us really want all the same things in life, you know?
Yeah.
And we just see, you know, all we see is like, oh my gosh, they're so different to me. And I'm like, well, you know, travel around a bit and then you learn that they're really not.
No, not at all. Humans are humans. Although the first time I went to America as an adult without my parents, because when I first went to America, it was Disneyland, Florida.
Nice.
So
I'm taking the boys there again next month.
Oh my goodness, you're going to have to tell me what it's like now, because I went in the 90s.
I hadn't been since 86. and then we went last year, and it's pretty cool.
19...
Hollywood Studios was totally new for me.
You got to tell me how it is when you take the boys.
I will. All right.
Because I'm sure it's way cooler now, or way, way better now. I found America to be, as an adult, not a culture shock in a huge way, but you realise that, yes, we're two different cultures. We both speak English, America and the UK. Speak English.
That's one of the only similarities.
Yeah. I mean, again, we're humans. We all want the same things and we're all whatever. But for example,
ordering breakfast.
Ordering breakfast.
Which do you prefer? I mean, you can't beat a British fry up, but you can't beat American pancakes either.
I actually like American pancakes.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah, I love them both. Oh,
if I could just have all of them on the plate, like I'm really okay with that.
Yeah.
But
Which do you prefer, the American or British bacon?
I like the one that snaps, the American.
The crispy,
yeah. The fatty UK bacon makes you feel a bit sick. I don't eat meat anymore, but I sometimes crave that snappy bacon. Like,
good for you. All right.
I'm craving it now. I'm craving Chinese, Thai, Indonesian, Japanese, all of the things we've talked about. I'm like,
black and white pudding. I like them too.
God, yeah. I'm so hungry. But you know what I found is one of the biggest differences, and it's getting to know lots of lovely American friends and working with Americans. Not all, but some. My humour, or specifically Glaswegian humour, a Scottish sense of humour, we like to take the piss out of people, and I'm sure it's the same in Ireland.
The Americans don't do that as much. They're much more sincere.
They are, and it's taken my newish American friends quite a while to get to know me when I'm kind of going. I said to one of my friends,
when you're being rude, yeah,
like I'm swearing at them, and they go, oh, and like, it's fine, you big idiot, like, it's fine, like, I'm having a laugh. They go, oh, okay.
It means I like you, yeah.
Yes, exactly. I like you. It's fine. Do you find
the Americans
that as well?
Don't get that.
Why do they not
absolutely.
Get it? No,
the Americans are much more sincere. They're just much more sincere to people, and sometimes that sincerity can seem a little comical to the Brits, and the Irish. I know it does. I know it can. And sometimes it seems insincere too. Like, you're having a laugh. Well, go on, have a nice day. You couldn't care less what kind of day I have. And sometimes it's true. Absolutely.
Like, it's such a strange thing. Like, okay, ma'am, enjoy your latte. I'll see you later.
New Yorkers are less like most Americans in that regard. Most New Yorkers are a bit more of the UK and Irish way of thinking, where they'll give you a ribbon and they'll give you a hard time, and they don't really mean it.
I quite like that. When I went to New York, I was actually, and I love America, which is why I want to move there. But when I went to New York, it was February 2019. So a bit before the pandemic, and I was for work, so I was there for 2 days. It was a whirlwind. It was great, got to do all the cool stuff in New York for work, but my God, like, I hated it, actually.
Really?
Yeah, man. And I love cities, but I was like,
too crowded, or what? What was it that you didn't like?
Crowded, rudeness, everything. And I know that people say Londoners are rude, but we kind of hold it in,
Oh, Londoners are rude too. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember the rudeness in London. Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me some rudes for London. Like, what's the vibe you get in London? What's the difference between London and New York? Would you reckon?
Well, in London, I had a few choice words with a lot of the TFL folks. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, I lived in London, so I know what they're like. And come on, they deserve it. I mean, it's not a good transport system. It's a hell of a lot more expensive than almost anywhere else in the planet I've been, and it's twice as bad. And I remember sometimes people would give me a hard time, like, oh, your Oyster card's out. I just filled it up, and I remember having a few arguments with the TFL folk. Yeah.
It's mad. Like that. There's so many things about this. Don't get me started on the transport system. This will become a very middle-aged podcast.
I know. It's one of the reasons I left the UK, and I'm not joking.
Really?
It's one of the reasons I left. Yeah, the public transport. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you know what? It's even worse now with all the strikes. So. And the post doesn't work. Nothing works.
I do miss the NHS, though. There's a lot of things I miss. I miss the NHS. I miss the sense of humor.
Well, that's the
But
thing.
I don't miss the public transport, especially all the rail systems. No way.
Oh my God. You know what though? When I look at the American map though, and I look at it and I go, and I know that everything's a lot bigger in America. It takes a lot longer to get around, but I think well, it would be lovely if there was a train that went from here to here, or there to there, or here to here. Because I actually quite like when it works, hopping on a train and going, oh, I can get to Birmingham, and then I can go to Scotland, and you
don't have to worry about parking the car. It's great when it works.
Yeah.
But people are paying £300 from London to Liverpool.
Go to Spain instead.
I mean, it's cheaper to fly. Yeah. If it's cheaper to fly, it's ridiculous. If it's cheaper to rent a car, it's ridiculous.
You're totally right. Oh my God. For those listening, this has now become the two people who complain.
I'll tell you what's wrong with all these things.
Look, for those that are younger than, I don't know, late 30s, this is the ghost of Christmas future for you all. Okay? Things that don't work. I love to complain. I mean, what about you, Roger? Because I quite like having a good old bitching.
It has become that way, hasn't it?
It has. Like, I mean, are you just leaning into it now? Because I just lean into it.
Yeah, I do.
Do you get told off, though, by your other half?
Sometimes.
Really?
Sometimes. Yeah. I think she's older than me, so my wife's actually worse at it. Yeah.
Brilliant. Match made in heaven then. Like that's I need to like my next partner has to be a really old man so that I can really lean in. Like,
do they still have that show Room 101 in the UK? That Paul Merton who used to do it?
I don't know if it's still running, but I used to watch it all the time.
I used to enjoy that too.
what would go in your 3 things that you would dump then? 3 things that go in the bin. Go for it.
Oh, British Rail.
Sure.
And I know that that wouldn't go in. He probably wouldn't let it go in.
Okay.
You know, but it should go in.
Okay.
What I was just trying to like, oh gosh, you know, most of the UK I like, you know. I'm trying to think now.
Anything in the world then. It doesn't have to be UK, it could be rude people. It could be London transport system. It can be
all right, you know what winds me up now is when 30-year-olds pretend they're old. That really winds me up. Like, what are you joking? What your first backache and you think you're an octogenarian? Will you stop? For God's sake.
But let me say this to you, Roger, okay? Because I agree with you. Okay, I agree. I actually interviewed somebody recently who was 31, 32, and they went, "Oh, I'm really old now," and I was like,
"Oh man, I mean, if you genuinely think that now."
Wait.
You'll just be wanting to unload a chamber. Oh no! I mean, come on. What you're setting yourself too high. It's like when you're doing theater, you know. If you set yourself up that high in your early 30s, what are you going to do when you're 60?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, it's
you're setting yourself nowhere to go. You need to judge where your peak should go, where you become the massively old geezer. You should leave that to your 60s. Don't start going on about it in your 30s.
Oh no, 100% no. But I was going to ask this to you, Roger. Like, so when you were younger and you turned certain milestone ages, was there ever a point, for example, 30, when you went, oh my God, I'm 30 now?
No.
No,
I always made it a point of not doing that. Because I was like, I'm not going to, it's just a number.
That's a really good attitude to have.
Yeah, I think it's easier for men to have that attitude, though. Although I think, you know, it's kind of changing, but I think it's easier for men to have that attitude because there's not as much stigma attached to getting old.
It is getting better for women, I would say, but there's still, I feel
it's still there. It's a bit of disparity, maybe, yeah.
A little bit. I feel that a little bit because I think my job is like so front facing, and I'm like, I went to I went to the hairdresser the other day to get this all dyed because it was really, you know, I've been inside for 2 months. It doesn't matter, you know. And I looked at myself under the lights, and I was like, I would never get hired if I just let this go. I just know I wouldn't get hired, you know, and that's the sad thing, you know.
I'll tell you what, turning a certain age did not ever make me feel old, but there was one thing that happened to me that made me feel old. It was the first time it's happened, and it hasn't really happened to the same scale since. It was about 5 or 6 years ago, and I was having an argument, or we were having a debate about something. It was a generational thing. And I was like, oh, you millennials are all the same. And I thought he was a millennial. You know, someone in their 20s. He's like, dude, I'm not a millennial. I'm Gen Z.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, you're not. Gen Z are the little kids in kindergarten. He's like, no, dude. We're all in college now. We're all graduating college. I'm
Yeah.
like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
No, you're not. And then meanwhile, I'm doing the math in my head and like, yeah, oh fuck, he's right.
He
Jeez,
is.
the millennials aren't kids anymore.
No.
That blew my head. That blew
Technically,
my mind.
I'm a millennial. Oh, no, I'm a zennial. That's the bit between X and
Yeah.
millennial. I'm gonna claim that. I'm claiming it.
I'm young Gen X. Yeah.
So we're all the same, man, Roger.
Yeah.
Don't put a wedge between us, Roger. Jeez, oh.
I didn't realize Gen Z were adults now.
They are.
When I realized that, I kind of flipped out. Yeah.
I know it does make you. Well, I've just quit teaching now, and I was teaching Gen Zs. And they're 25, 26-year-olds are Gen Zs. So,
yeah. And I like them.
They're cool.
These kids don't take any crap with jobs. They're like, oh, is that no? You paying me how much? Okay, bye. I like that. I respect that.
Do you know what? I was reading an interesting theory about Gen Z, just Gen Zs in general, because this whole article was saying their attitude's more akin to Gen X because they were brought up by Gen X. That's their parents.
I guess.
So there's almost like that. And I can see when I was in class, so many of them love the 90s stuff. They're into grunge. They dressed like they were from the 90s. And I like them. They're cool. They're really against the system, against hierarchical ways of working. Very akin to the Gen X way, that kind of like, going your own way kind of thing. I like that,
Yeah, it's cool.
So there's hope, Roger. There's hope.
Oh, yeah, sure.
You can hate my generation then, Roger.
No, I don't hate any of them. I don't even hate the boomers. No. Some of them are still cool, the boomers.
Some of them still are. I've got a friend who's in his late 60s. Awesome guy. Honestly cool. Like a cool guy. Anyway,
they had the whole world handed to them on a plate and they screwed it up, but some of them are still cool.
Some of them are cool and they realize that, man. So you gotta take it case by case basis. Like, no hate. This is a positive pod time machine. Also, food. We've covered food.
Yeah.
We've covered positivity. Things that you hate.
And old grumpiness.
Grumpiness. But back to the way that living in Ireland, this always happens every episode. Well, being in Ireland changed your life. I mean, we've already talked about your formative years and then getting into drama. You touched upon very, very briefly, it helped you with jobs. How would you say that was the case in terms, is it because of the accent and what you do? How did it help you with jobs and things?
Yeah, it made my pigeonhole bigger because I could do more accents to a native standard. So when I trained in the UK, I got hired mostly as Irish and either an Irishman or an American. Those were the stuff that I usually got hired for. And then when I moved back to New York, that pigeonhole increased again because then I could get away with being a Brit.
Excellent.
Yeah,
that's what you want in this industry. It's like,
you want to have as big a pigeonhole as possible because that it increases and maximizes your chance of booking work. If you're eligible to do a more diverse range of roles. So yeah, that's what really helped. Is it expanded my horizons and I was able to do a lot. It made me better with accents and picking up accents, definitely, without a doubt.
I mean, I'm terrible at accents, Roger, so I'm going to ask you right now to give me a crash course in an American accent. That's one I really cannot do. I mean, it's always like, oh my God. Like I just go there. Oh my God.
Well, it's always easy to do a heavy accent or to do a thick accent. But if you could do a thick accent, then it doesn't take much more work to just pull it back a bit so that it sounds a little bit more normal. So Americans talk more kind of through the nose and
more like this, like that.
A little bit more, and a little bit more slowly and a little bit more deliberately. And remember, everything's a lot more sincere.
Okay. That's the thing I've noticed. Like my accent, Scottish people talk very, very fast.
Yeah.
It's like stabbing words almost. And when I'm in LA, specifically LA, maybe not so much other parts of America, but they kind of look at you and go, what was that? What? Like you have to really
slow it down.
Yeah. You have to really slow it down. You're totally right. And I would
people just start doing that to you.
I interviewed
when you
someone
know.
recently, and we were at the side of the stage. I won't name him. He's in a very, very big show. He's a very big actor. Lovely guy, LA born and bred. I was chatting away to him, and he was like this for 5 minutes. He was like, sorry, I really don't understand what you just said.
He didn't understand you. Come on.
And I was speaking very clearly, and he kept going, what now? And I thought, right, I'm going to have to speak like this very, very clearly.
Man,
I know.
that's bad. Because you're not bad at all, Claire. Not at all.
I think I've got quite a clear accent.
Imagine it. He should watch Rabsy Nesbitt.
Oh my God.
No, I struggled with Rabsy Nesbitt. Even I struggle with him sometimes.
He used to come into my dad's shop and
did he?
Yeah, buy stuff from my dad's shop. Yeah.
Legend.
Yeah,
Harry. Hey. I can't do it. I'm not gonna.
My dad would be like, Rabsy Nesbitt came into the shop again today. Like, he would get really, really excited. Like, because my dad's shop was one of very few back then that was a Chinese grocery shop. So, like, if you wanted to get Chinese groceries, you go there.
Oh, cool! Like we get all the proper herbs and spices and stuff. Yeah,
all of this stuff, like all. So every time I go back up to Glasgow, my dad's got a box ready. I'm like, Dad, I can't take this down. I can't take a box of bottles of things. And he's like,
oh no.
Yeah, I know, I want to. I mean, I want to, but he's like, there, take the noodles, take the stuff. I'm like, I can't. Like, I'm like, I
There's
can't
this
carry
really
this.
good Asian. It's molasses or something, but it's got loads of roots and everything else in it. It's one of the best. If you ever lose your voice, you take a tablespoon and it's amazing.
I might have to get you to send me a link because I've been.
I can't pronounce the name of it, but it's someone I actually discovered it in LA because a lot of voice actors swear by it, and it is good stuff.
Is it Peipaco? Is it that?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
My dad.
That's
keeps,
what it is.
Yeah.
I think.
He keeps going, Peipaco. You need to drink Peipaco. And so I hate.
It's good stuff.
I used to drink it when I was younger. Every time I got a sore throat, my mum was like, "Here, take this."
Oh,
it's disgusting, but it's good.
You don't like it? I think it tastes all right.
Oh, it's horrible. It's, like it literally makes my face cave in. Like I hate it.
No, I love this. It's really good for when you get it's really good for your vocal cords.
I'm gonna have to do that because I've just been overusing my voice. So for the last couple of months, I've had to just like not speak, almost not speak for hours and hours because it's so bad. Peipaco. Okay, something that my dad recommended is right then. Okay, I'll give him that. He'll be very happy to know I'm taking his advice.
Your dad knows what he's talking about.
I know. You know what mums and dads are like, though.
I do.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Roger, I mean, like, it goes without saying, like, moving to Ireland changed your whole life because we're sitting here and, like, we know your body of work. We didn't even have to touch upon Red Dead and things like that as well because everybody knows. Everyone knows. And the whole idea of this podcast is I like to just get to know folks a bit more, you know. And
oh, yeah. Now everyone's going to go, oh, Roger, jeez. Oh, he always just complain.
God, he hates
He's
young
such an old
people.
cranky bastard. Yeah.
He hates the TFL. You've been exposed on my podcast, Roger. What can I say?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, guys. Hey, TFL, if you stopped sucking, maybe I wouldn't hate you so much.
Okay, I tell you what. Okay, 3 things. Okay, let's end on a positive note. Although I think moaning is very
all right,
positive.
I'll tell you this much.
Okay.
It's clean. So, wait, London Tube is clean.
Okay, that's one. So I'm going to say...
That's all you're getting, though.
If you had to take 3 things with you to space, you know, like, so... And it can be people. Okay, you assume that they're on board with you. You're going to Mars, you're starting a new colony, you take 3 items. What would you take? Why would you take them? Why do you love them so much? Can't be food.
It can't be food?
No, because you've got like one of those things in Star Trek, what they called again, like...
A replicator.
Yeah, you got a replicator. So you got one of those.
Right.
That's fine. So it's going to be objects. It's got to be objects.
Oh, okay. So like sentimental stuff. Then.
Yeah.
Well, I'd probably take the complete works of Shakespeare with me because that's just a big whole thing. That's a cliched answer, but probably do that.
Nice.
Maybe I'll bring us a Nintendo Switch, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, because something that you can carry. Or maybe I haven't tried one of these Steam Decks yet. What do you think's better? Have you done a Steam Deck yet?
I've not done a Steam Deck yet, but I have a couple of friends.
Pretty good.
Yeah, man. They're just expensive, you know.
They've got such a huge range of games, though. You know, even more than the Switch. But yeah, maybe it'll either be a Switch or a Steam Deck.
Sure.
And then last but not least, I might bring along some seeds of some of my favorite plants.
Oh, That's really and do like a Matt Damon and like grow things.
Yeah, grow things. Yeah.
Except more interesting than potatoes. So, like
it would be more interesting than potatoes. Yeah, let's just say it'd be something that would help me get by those long years in Mars.
I wonder what that could be. Sunflower seeds.
Sunflower seeds.
Yeah, sunflower seeds. I love sunflowers. They're really lovely and interesting to look at. Roger, it's been absolutely wonderful chatting to you. And like, we already chat quite a lot. I've interviewed you so many times and stuff, but
sure.
We always chat about more different things every single time, and it's lovely.
Yes.
So before we go, do all your socials, hashtag ad, hashtag sponsored. Go for it. Where can the people find you?
rclark98 on Twitter, Rolling Raj on Instagram, Roger Clark Actor on TikTok, and I'm going to be in Portland, Oregon this weekend, February 16th, 17th to the 19th, I think.
That will be the past, by the time we hear this, but...
Yeah, okay, never mind. Well, I got Liverpool coming up in the beginning of April, and Fort Solace. My next big video game starring me and Troy Baker's coming out this summer.
Yes, I can't wait for all that. Please, everybody, go follow this lovely man. And Roger, I hope I get to see you in person very soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Claire.
No
Good
problem.
to see you again.
This was Hot Pod Time Machine. I'm Claire. This is Roger, and we'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Hot Pod Time Machine.